1 second. Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to the March 10th, 2022 Rent Leveling Board meeting. I'm going to proceed with the statement of compliance. Notice of this meeting was given to the township clerk and posted on the township bulletin board and township website calendar and sent to the West Orange Chronicle and the Star Ledger. This meeting has been properly noticed to the public in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. No new matters will start after 8 p.m. And now, if everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd greatly appreciate it. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
and to the
Republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Okay. Now, I'd like to share that the next Rent Leveling Board meeting is going to take place on April 14th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And if there are any announcements, now's the time to speak. Any announcements?
Deidre, may I interrupt 1 second? This
Yes.
is Megan, the moderator. You're not on camera. Is that your intention?
It's not my intention, but I have to kind of mess around and see why I'm not on camera. My apologies.
Why don't you take a minute and try to figure that out?
Okay, give me 1 second. It's very interesting because I'm not hiding my self view at all.
have any type of camera like blocker or
Let
something?
me see here. I guess no one can see me now still.
No.
Okay, all right, let me keep messing around. I don't want to take up anyone's time. Yep, I see everybody but myself. Oh, gosh. Give me 1 second, guys.
It should be in, are you on a desktop or a laptop?
I am on a laptop.
Okay, so that should be,
Let me see here. Let me call technical support. 1 second.
stop share.
Sorry about this.
It should be in the lower left-hand corner.
Okay. Lower left-hand corner. I'm coming your way. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay.
It's fine.
Oh. Yeah, I see every single soul but myself. Give me 1 second. Wait, here I am, Deirdre, me. Okay. 4. No. All right, bear with me 1 second. I appreciate it.
It's fine. We're only 4 minutes after. It's fine.
Speaking of time, are we limited in like how we usually say after a certain time we will do no more business?
Okay, guys, give me 1 second.
Yeah, it's no new business after 8 p.m.
Okay.
No new business. So this whole case can be
Yep.
heard after that. Deidre, if you found the start video button, you may need to go out and come back in. Sometimes
Okay.
it gets wonky. And that might be another route to go.
Look at that, babe.
Host.
That's Megan. Okay. All right, click that, click more and see what happens. Okay. Should I go out? I can go out and come back in. That's what she recommended. All right.
This is when we need that great elevator music.
I know, because I don't want to hold everybody up because you can't see me.
Right, I just think with you running the meeting, that it's important that we figure this part out and we just
I
take
am.
a couple minutes to work
Okay.
it out.
Let's X out, babe, and try to go back in. Because I would be right there. That's where I would be, but I'm not.
Is everybody else here?
Everybody else is here but me. I can see everyone's face. Click that for a second to see what happens. All right, let me see something. See what happens if I click that. Still can't be seen. All right, I'm gonna go out and but come back in and see what happens.
Okay.
All right, I hope I don't lose. All right. Try full screen. Try that. Can you guys see me now? No.
I'm gonna,
Oh my God.
Deidre, you may need to log completely out of Zoom and dial back in.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I'll see you shortly. Bye. All right.
Pete, can you send her the general link? I can send her the general link.
The general link's also on the website. I can send it to her if you like. I'll do that now.
Yeah, maybe we should see if that would work and then we could just move her over once she gets in. I have it though.
And guys, I just need to step aside for 1 second. I'm coming back in like 60 seconds. Thanks.
Minutes in Zoom are so much longer than any other minutes. Okay, so now she's muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted now, but I still am not there.
All right, I'm going to send you a picture of where it is on your laptop that you should be able to find it.
Oh man. Okay.
Can I give a suggestion?
Yes,
Sure.
indeed.
Where the stop video button is, you did hit it before because you turned it on and off. There's a little arrow on the top right-hand side. You might have to choose a different camera, like a different input.
The arrow, click the arrow.
Because when you click the stop video button, your name came up on the screen, and then when you took it off, it came off. So it means that it's trying to enable a camera of sorts on your computer.
Oh, I see. I'll pick select a camera.
Yeah, under select the camera, there should be one that's checked off, and there could possibly be other options below that.
Yes, the options are built-in eyesight, choose virtual background,
Nope.
or
Built-in
video
eyesight.
settings.
Click built-in eyesight.
I clicked it. Let's see what happens.
I sent you a picture of that too,
Oh man.
of that area.
Oh my gosh. I'm
maybe.
relaxed.
That was my only shot, okay? I tried.
And then the other option, Deidre, is just to go call from your cell phone.
All right. I'll do that.
Share screen.
Okay. I will do that.
And continue to take those wonderful deep breaths that you're taking because it works.
Okay. May as well. And it was all going so well. Let's see here. This is when you need, okay.
Your kids.
You got it. You got it. All right, I'll just do it from my mobile phone. Oh, man. All right, can you guys give me, I don't know why this says webinar. All right, let's see. board member. Okay, let's do it. I don't know why it says meeting is expired, but give me the meeting ID, please.
It is 814-4091-2649.
Thank you. 814-4091-2649.
Yes, and then the password is 680243.
Okay. Let's see. 680243.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I'm on. Ooh, the echo is terrible.
Now you'll have to close your computer completely out.
Will do. Keeping it out.
Megan, I think you need to move her over from the attendees side. She's listed in the attendees now.
Okay. I was trying to text her. If this doesn't work, Anthony, I think you're gonna need to take
Yeah.
over.
Okay.
All right, I moved her. She should be popping in. Here we go.
Okay. I do not see my face, but maybe it'll appear.
So you're gonna have to turn on your camera on your phone instance now.
All right. Where do I turn my camera on my phone?
When you touch your screen on your phone, is it an iPhone?
Yes.
The same or a similar button should appear in the bottom left-hand corner that has a camera on it, and just enable the camera.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Hold on. What'd you do? All right. If not, we're just gonna have to, I guess someone else is gonna have to carry on because okay, there we go.
All right.
Hallelujah. Good grief.
All
Good
right.
evening, everybody. So not funny. Okay.
Okay.
Now, where were we?
We were agenda.
Oh, you know where we were? We were about to ask Peter Smeraldo if he could do the roll call. Can you conduct the roll call, Mr. Smeraldo?
Madam Chair. Okay. A board member Huerta,
Here.
board member Gabriel Michael,
Here.
board member Myers,
Here.
board member Rodriguez,
Present here.
vice chair Campagna.
Here.
And chairman Sanders.
Here, thankfully. Okay.
Everyone's all present.
Excellent. So now we are going to proceed to our application. This evening, we have one application. That is the matter of 91 Ashland Avenue, LLC. And Mr. Lazaros Bastardos is here representing that organization. The chair recognizes the applicant. So, Mr. Graziano, can you please swear in Mr. Lazaros Bastardos?
Mr. Vistardos, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear that or affirm that my testimony before this board this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
I swear that my testimony before the board will be true,
The whole truth
all truth, whole truth, nothing but
and
the
nothing
truth.
but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
The witness is sworn, Madam Chairman.
Fabulous. I just, we can now proceed. So Mr. Vistardos, will you begin?
Sure. So basically, I updated all the paperwork that we had discussed from last month. I updated all the rentals correctly on all my calculations. I updated everything accordingly, and I also added an invoice. I know we discussed about capital improvements and what I was planning on doing, what we were planning on doing on the building, and what renovations were to be done and how much that would cost. And again, I know we didn't have that last time. I was a little unprepared. So I took care of getting an estimate for that. As you can see from the estimate, I think everybody has it, right? I emailed it to Peter.
Yes.
I don't have that. I'm sorry. Can somebody point out where that capital improvements estimate is located?
Here.
But I got part 1, part 2. I received that from Peter, 2 email, one labeled part 1, the other labeled part 2. Part 1 has 1 attachment in it, and part 2 has 3 attachments, but I don't. Either way, if we did timely receive that, would the moderator kindly place that on the record for everyone on this call to see, please?
Now, what I'd like to do is I would like to ask Mr. Vistardos, those capital improvements, are they articulated in writing? Is it just listed amongst the building's expenses, or where are they supposed to be, sir?
Well, that's the justification of increasing the rents. As far as where the money's, are you referencing like where the money's gonna, like how am I getting the funds?
No, where is it in the application? Is it under, is it where it says others itemize? Where you just have like maintenance, repairs and things of that nature?
Oh, no. I haven't calculated that in there because how am I gonna, I didn't think that needed to be calculated in there because I haven't done those renovations yet. I haven't done those capital improvements.
Oh,
So-
okay,
So
okay.
it's an invoice that was submitted. Peter, I actually did not receive that. I did receive, same as Kabira, part 1 and part 2, but I do not see any invoice. I don't know, did everybody
Would you
else?
like me to share the
receive it?
screen?
What I'll do is, I'm sorry, I thought it was sent out. I have it here. I will send it to Megan right now and she can put it on the screen for everybody. It is here. We did receive it in a timely fashion.
Hold on a second. And this is when I turn to Councilor Graziano. The board was not made privy to that invoice. That is part and parcel of the capital improvements increase application. And I just don't think that it's appropriate for us to be forced to factor that in at this point. I have a suggestion that we table that aspect of the application and just look at the other part of the application that has to do with the hardship increase, for which we do have the relevant documents. Because I don't have this document. I didn't get a chance to review it, to factor it in to my decision making, and I'm not sure if the respondent tenants have a copy of that either. So that's my only concern there. I'm not saying we should deny the application at all, because this is of no fault of the petitioner. But the board doesn't have this. It has not been we haven't timely received this part of the application.
Well, I propose that someone makes a motion that we proceed with the application. And then when we have a chance to look at this one item, I think we have sufficient information to make a decision. We can
You
do
just
that. If
continue.
someone's. Is that okay? Would anyone like to make a motion that we proceed with what we have?
I do.
Would anyone like to second that?
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion to proceed. I think we can just proceed.
Okay,
Exactly.
sounds good. Then let's carry on. So, Mr. Vistardos, you may continue.
Yeah, the big part of this was obviously the expenses that are reported on that invoice, which is about $331,000 in expected renovations to bring this building up to what we think is standard to get the highest rent possible in the township. That includes central air in all the units, and it includes new kitchens, stainless steel appliances, new floors, new bathrooms, the whole nine, complete renovation from bottom to top. And
Can we see that? Yeah, okay.
I
Thank
was
you.
just about to ask if we can
Yeah,
share. Thank you.
Thank you.
it's all itemized per every unit, all down to replacing windows, materials, electric upgrades, basically doing everything brand new in the building. Now, in a perfect world, I have the whole building vacant. I can get that done easily. Fine, fair enough. But, you know, as we get tenants out, we want to improve the building on every unit as much as we can in order to collect the highest rent possible. As previously stated in our last meeting, you know, the rent increase that we're asking is not unreasonable for the current condition of the properties. Once the property is completely renovated like this, we can go over $1,800, $2,000.
Okay,
Now, furthermore, I you know, all the documentation, everything that we had talked about last time
what happened?
pretty much still applies. I just updated the current rents that everybody's paying on the spreadsheet for the landlord tenant registration form, as well as the rent leveling board, the hardship capital improvement list, income and expenses. I updated the rentals accordingly for the total monthly rent collected.
May I ask a question, Mr. Lass?
Yes, sir.
How much is each tenant paying right now?
They range, but all of them are between $800 and $900 a month.
There
For
is
how
one
many
tenant, sir,
bedrooms?
paying 1,300.
Well, one, yes, one, with the exception of that one. The other five are paying between $800 and $900.
For 1 or 2 bedrooms?
2-bedroom units.
Yeah, all of this is in his
Wow.
written application.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I understand, but but this is West Orange. I mean, I understand that. I mean, where you come from, but I think that we really have to sit down and talk about this because, I mean, and I'm sure that if we meet with tenants, I mean, you can get somewhere with this because it's definitely low for West Orange.
Well, why don't we reserve that kind of commentary for the end when we speak amongst ourselves and when everyone has had an opportunity to speak. Mr. Vistardos, I'd like to ask, are there any other points you'd like to make this evening?
I mean, again, this is a continuation of last month's meeting. So, you know, again, everything we talked about last month all kind of still applies.
Mhm.
With the amounts, again, the disconnect was last month that I didn't have all the documentation updated accordingly with the current up-to-date rents. So,
Okay.
you know, I did that. I updated it. Granted, it's slightly higher than what it was last month, but not anywhere significantly higher at all. And again, the capital improvements, which are the renovations, that's the other piece of the puzzle. So really, to be quite honest, I did what we spoke about last month, what needed to be updated and corrected. And as I felt there was going to be a continuation of last month's meeting, unless you want me to go revisit everything again and we can go over all the questions you had for me again, you know, we can, but I just kind of figured it was more of like a continuation and just kind of bringing these last two pieces that I didn't have correct on last meeting.
I have one question. What was your time frame for completing the capital improvements?
I mean, if I had the building vacant right now, today, completely vacant with no tenants in there, it could probably take me 2 to 3 months to complete it.
But with tenants?
Well, first of all, I can't have tenants in there while I'm doing the capital improvements because I'm talking about renovating kitchens and bathrooms where they're going to cook, where they're going to go to the restroom. So that's not possible.
Okay.
For that to happen. So ideally, it would have to be vacant for me to accomplish it all in one shot. But again, the process here from what I thought when I bought the building is as a tenant moved out, I would go ahead and do more work to the property on each individual unit until I had all the units done.
Understood. Okay, do you have any further comments, sir?
Kabira has a question. Her hand is up. I know you can't see it, Deidre, because you're on your phone, but some of us have our
Exactly.
hands up. So,
Okay, so
Kabira.
exactly. So let's
Thank
pose
you.
your questions, but before you speak, I'd like to limit everyone to 3 minutes. Carry on.
So I do have a couple of questions, because as I mentioned at our last meeting, petitioner, the ordinance requires that you provide certain additional information on a capital improvements application. One of which is that you tell us the number of years of useful life of each improvement. The other is the average cost of the improvement. I'm not sure if your invoice says that, because again, I was not made privy to it prior to this hearing, and I don't see it in front of me now. The other requirement is the number of square feet occupied by the tenant, and the capital improvement surcharge sought from each tenant. I don't see that in front of, I did not see that in front of me when that invoice was put on the screen. Is that something that you've included in this application before us today?
Well, the cost is included, absolutely. It has a breakdown of the per unit cost. As far as life expectancy, I mean, it's kind of hard. We'd have to kind of go through it individually, and I can tell you the life expectancy, because the life expectancy of a drain in the building versus the life expectancy of the countertop that's being used every day are two different things. So in the long term of things, I could probably give you, a 30 to 60 year window that these repairs are going to be good for. But kitchen will probably have to be updated again in another 15 years, 10 years, or something like that, depending on how it's used. Bathroom, the same thing.
Oh, sorry. What's the surcharge that you're requesting for that you're asking to charge each tenant or sought from each tenant? What is that surcharge?
I'm trying to go to $1,500 a month.
Right, but that's the increase. What about the capital improvement surcharge? Are you just
That's
folding
gonna
that
come.
into-
That's gonna come once one of these tenants leaves and I renovate the unit, then I'm gonna rent it for more than what I'm asking for the $1,500. So there's no surcharge per se. It's money that I'm gonna recoup back in higher rents once the units are completed.
Okay, and then the other question that I have, so you said that these improvements you won't be able to complete these improvements until the tenants fully vacate, or unless they fully vacate. So
Correct.
if the tenants will not fully vacate, how do you propose getting these improvements done? If the tenant is still there and they have a right to continue to be there, unless, they choose to vacate or they get removed by a court, how will that happen? How will these
Well,
improvements?
I could go in and attempt to do whatever I can do, maybe floors, maybe updating some electric, maybe updating some plumbing, maybe doing certain things that I could do while the tenant is in there. I would have absolutely no problem going ahead and doing that. Unfortunately, like I told you, replacing a kitchen, a family's going to be without a kitchen for, let's say, even in an unrealistic world, it took me a week to do it, which is probably going to take 2 to 3, but let's just say a week. You can't have a family not have a kitchen for a week. There's no way to replace that. Same thing with a bathroom. There's only one bathroom in each unit. So if they're out of bathroom for a week, unfortunately, that's not an option. If the tenants chose to move out while I did the renovation, they can come back in for the higher rent afterwards. That's an option as well. There's no concern there, but they would have to move out. I would have to do the renovation, and then I can have an agreement with them to move back in at the higher rent that would be justified for those renovated units.
I see. All right, I don't have any additional questions right now.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to anyone else have any questions?
I
know
do,
there were
Deidre.
other hands up.
Yeah,
Yes?
I have a quick question. So just one point of clarification on the management and maintenance costs that you've included in the monthly expense. Can you just break down what that is? Because I know as part of the application, you did indicate that you were handling the management portion of the building yourself, and then there was an agreement with the tenant of apartment 1 to handle some of the maintenance. So can you just break down how that charge is kind of calculated?
Yeah, well, first off, let's talk about the tenant in first floor in the first unit. Our agreement, instead of $1,500, that should have been
15
his
down to
rent,
13.
I'm charging him $1,300.
Yep.
So that $200 is handling removing of the garbage, cleaning the property, mopping the hallway, sweeping, making sure the maintenance in the building is maintained. When it snows, he goes out with a shovel and salts. We have certain agreements in place that he's responsible for that. So that's already accounted for out of the rent, because I've reduced that tenant's rent to cover those services that he's offering me.
Understood.
So technically speaking, I don't know how you want to consider it, but it's included in the fact that I'm getting less rent, or
Yeah, 13 versus 15.
Exactly. It would have been $200 more in my total month collected.
And
As
then-
far as the management
Yeah, the
fee,
management fee, yeah.
regardless, I mean, I mentioned that because I am a partner in this building, so I have taken that responsibility to do it. But in the real world scenario of somebody that doesn't do this, doesn't collect the rents, isn't in real estate like I am, they would be paying a 10% fee, and it could be more. I've seen management companies charge 12. I've seen them charge 8. So I took 10% as a kind of like a nice medium in between a high or a low number. And I just took it 10% off the monthly rent.
Yep.
So, you know, the fact that I'm doing it, that's good for me and my business. But at the end of the day, that has to be a fee that has to be accounted for, because what if I wasn't in that industry? What if I didn't know how to handle these types of issues? I would be paying a separate service to do it. So
But hold
one way or
on,
another, that fee has to be accounted for.
I need
So,
just.
can
real
I, hold
quick
on, can I continue?
clarification.
Can I continue my
It's about
question?
it's about your question. I'm sorry. It's about your question because I didn't understand his answer to your question. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay. You
Yeah.
can-
Oh, sorry.
You can proceed.
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to understand your answer, petitioner, to the question. The capital, I'm sorry, the management fee is not an actual fee. It's a theoretical fee that you included.
It's a
in your
fee that
motion?
I'm choosing to put back into my building's account and not collect.
But wait a minute, I'm confused. Are you or are you not paying a management fee?
I am not taking a management fee.
Okay,
No.
I am
don't know if
managing
that's
the
okay. I
building.
don't understand that answer because the application asks you to list your monthly expenses.
That's
You
an
said that
expense
your
of the
mon-
building.
You said that your monthly expense included a management fee of $559.
Mhm.
Are you or are you not paying $559? That's what an expense is. something that
I'm
you are
collecting that
paying.
money. Yes, I am collecting it as a management fee. I am
okay.
the property manager.
So basically,
No, that's not, what the question is that an expense? Is an expense
Yes,
is something
it's
you are
management.
paying?
Property management is an expense of a building. Yeah, that's, you
No,
pay a
the
management
question
service to
is,
do that.
are you paying it? Are
Yes,
you paying a man, and Anthony, I apologize. I just need to understand this. Are you paying a management fee? That is the question Mr. Campagna asked you. So the answer is no, you're not paying a management fee.
I am not taking a management fee. That would be the management fee of the building if I wasn't doing it pro bono for my LLC.
The answer to my question is no, you are not paying a management fee. Thank you.
But that is a fee that should be calculated for the building.
Excuse
Because
me,
if you'd like, I
excuse
can
me.
continue going forward and collect the
Excuse me.
management fee.
excuse me. Let's pull it in a little bit here. Let me try to explain. It sounds like it's more of a, it's not exactly an expense because Mr. Vistardos is acting in the capacity of a managing agent. And that would be an expense, but he's taking it on himself. So that's the end of it. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Melinda
Or
has her
comment.
hand up.
Okay,
Yeah, I did have a question, but Anthony, I think you had.
Yeah, no, I'm clear on that now. Thank you, Melinda.
Okay, so I think I see on this property information form that you did list that you are collecting 1,300 from unit 1.
Correct.
But on the lease, I see that it
That's
says
an incorrect lease. That lease that I had with the attachments, as we discussed last month, that was a previous tenant.
So there is no current lease for unit 1?
There
Or
is no
was it
current lease
not?
for unit 1, no.
So just a point of clarification, unit 1 is not being addressed in this application, is that correct? It's just units
Correct,
2
yeah, I'm
through
only,
6.
yes,
Yep.
I'm only addressing the other units, not unit 1.
So, but it's in the application, is it not?
I was told that I'd have to put it in the application because it's a tenant of the building.
But
Okay,
he's
Why I
not,
proceeded that way.
you're not
Right.
petitioning to increase
I'm
the
not
rent
petitioning
for,
to increase the first unit
Yeah.
1, no. I'm petitioning to increase units 2 through 6.
okay.
okay. Okay, I see. So that's Melinda. Anybody else from the board have any questions?
I do have a
Okay.
question, Mr. Last.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, go
Uh,
ahead.
Do you have new leases for the tenants? I mean, after you bought the building, did you write new leases for them?
I did, yes.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I increased it accordingly to the 2% that was allowed from the previous landlord. And then and those are the leases that I had for them when I bought the building.
Okay. Oh, that's all.
Any other questions?
Mr. Graziano has a question.
Mr.
Okay,
Vistardos, regarding Unit 1, just to clarify the record, would it be fair to say that you do not have a written lease with that tenant, but you do have a verbal agreement with him?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions from the board?
Yeah, yes, I do, unless someone else had questions.
Okay, not from what I can see.
I did, but go ahead, Kabira.
Okay, Mr. Bastardos, on your checklist, number 6, you indicated that your lease complies with section 15-2.6, notice of tenants' rights. I took a look at all 6 lease agreements that you provided us, and I didn't see that. Is that something that I'm possibly overlooking?
No, you actually brought it up last month also. And I guess, as I stated last month, it was just an error. I wasn't aware that had to be in my lease. So when I make new leases, I will add that in there.
Okay, so then you really should have checked no.
You're correct. I should have, yes.
Okay, and then I do have some other questions, but I'll let someone go before me because I can't.
Okay, and then I'm gonna have to open it up to the public and then maybe, okay, so who else has a question? I'm sorry, I can't see it.
I did, Melinda.
Okay, Melinda, excellent, carry on.
I know that the first apartment the first unit is not in your application. However, according to our rent ordinance 15-2.2, Article C, it says that any rental increase at a time other than at the expiration of a lease or termination of a period tenancy shall be void. Any rental increase in excess of the authorized herein shall be void, and excess shall be refunded to the tenant by the landlord within 30 days after the rent leveling board has made its findings.
I think that's for a continuation. This was a new tenant in apartment number 1.
Oh, right. Hold on one second. I did have.
There were actual increases for all the tenants. If I recall.
There was 2% increases for the tenants that remained apartment number 1. Mr. Vistardos, please correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand from our last meeting, apartment number 1 was vacated. A new tenant came in at this higher agreed upon rate. So it was not an incremental increase from the same tenant who's occupying the apartment. This was a new tenant with a new lease that's now been declared as verbal.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, while Melinda's looking, can I piggyback on that question? Because my understanding of the ordinance is that any rent increase requires prior written notice. And even if it's a 2% increase within the boundaries of the ordinance, it still requires written notice. So I just want to confirm that there was no written notice before these 2% increases occurred, correct?
There was verbal notice and agreements between all the tenants and myself.
Right.
And again, I think we're all kind of learning the ropes here with the rent control board. I mean, these are things that I'm learning as well. As a new landlord of a commercial building under rent control laws in West Orange, I want to fully abide by the laws and go properly forward. I was not aware of those, but those were increases that were verbally agreed upon and discussed.
I'll let Melinda ask her.
Go ahead, Melinda. Melinda?
You're on mute.
My apologies. So my apologies. It keeps muting me, sorry. No, I have no further questions.
Okay,
I have some additional questions. So I took a look at the lease agreements, as I mentioned before, and I noticed that there's a $100 late fee penalty that you appear to charge on a weekly basis. Have you ever had to impose this late fee on any of the current tenants?
No.
Okay. And then on your application, you indicate that you have repairs expenses. So you indicated that you pay $150 per month in repairs and $150 per month and maintenance. Would you please flesh those two expenses out for us? What sorts of repairs are you making every month that require an expenditure of $150? And same question for the maintenance fee.
Well, anytime you purchase a building, you have what's called a pro forma that you use, and you have vacancy that you calculate for, you have repairs that you calculate for. There's certain things that you have to account for. So I might not be spending that money all in one shot. We just redid the driveway, cost over $15,000 to redo the driveway in the back of the building. There's other repairs that are normally done. We had to fix the roof. That cost a couple of $1,000s. These are all things that you take, and you might not be spending $150 every month consistently, but you have to account for that number. And then when you need to spend it, you spend it. But it could be it could end up being more than $150 a month. It could end up being less. But it's just a general number that's used in income pro forma income expense calculations on a building.
And additionally, you indicated that you spend $300 per month on utilities. I understand that there's common area lighting. You indicated in one part of your application, that's what some of your utilities were, or one of your utilities. What are the other utilities that are causing you to expend $300? Is that not in the section labeled other? Or no, am I overlooking that?
I'm not sure where you're seeing. No, it's not under other. It's under utilities because it's a utility of the building. The light, and the water.
Got you.
The sewer, if what you were referencing under other is the sewer, that's the sewer bill. That's something different that the town charges.
I did have further questions upon that.
Sure.
Okay, Melinda?
So that is something that I did notice a couple of discrepancies in your management fee. In one area, you have listed $559. In another area, it's a different figure. There's three different figures that I've noticed for management fee, 500, 559, or 515.
There's only one spot to have the management fee.
Well, there is a list that you gave us that has your monthly expenses, and in the letter that you wrote to the board requesting for this hearing, it is a different figure.
Correct, because it's just a 10% number that I used. So since in the beginning, when I first requested this hearing, I had a different amount of rent collected because they weren't updated. So the letter went based off of that. So this new document of 559, that's 10% of the current rent that's being collected. So that is the correct number, but it was just, it's not an exact amount. It was just a percentage of the total rents.
So I just want to make sure on the figures, 559.
Of course.
Maintenance, I see two different figures as well. On the spreadsheet that was sent out, it was 250, and on the application, it says 150.
It's again, what I put on the spreadsheet might have included other things. I don't know, but the correct breakdown that I want to use is the one on the landlord hardship form.
Can we
maintenance
pull
is
that up?
150 on that.
Can we pull that up so that I can have the more accurate, because there's two separate forms because of this,
From last month, I understand.
The resubmission. So I just want to make sure I'm looking at the correct figures.
You want me to share my screen or is?
No, so Megan, that should be page 4 of packet 2.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Thanks. And then I was gonna go back and refer back to even though this first unit is not in the application, you are eligible obviously for the vacancy decontrol. And under the ordinance, I just wanted to make everyone aware that it's 15-4 for vacancy decontrol. In order to qualify for a vacancy decontrol rent increase, the landlord shall first be required to file with the rent leveling board a written statement signed by the vacating tenant, certifying to the board that the landlord has not in any way harassed or pressured the tenant into vacating the housing unit, and that vacating of such unit was a voluntary act on the part of the tenant. So I just wanted to make sure that we were aware that that is also in our ordinance.
He bought a house, that tenant.
I mean, that's fine. I know. That's just that is in our ordinance and that we need to be aware of that.
I would say that since, I would say probably going forward, Mr. Vistardos would have to do that. Since this is our first hearing, with our board, I suspect that Mr. Vistardos may not have been aware that he had to provide that information to the departing tenant. So I think it's sort of away from what we're trying to focus on this evening.
You're correct. I wasn't aware. You're correct.
Any other questions?
I have another question. In your application dated January 2022, January 27th, you indicated that your mortgage was $5,304, but in your application of February, you indicated that your mortgage was a couple of $100 more than that. Am I missing something here? Yeah, so your application dated February 28th indicates your mortgage is 5,706, but the one from January says that it's something different. What accounts for that discrepancy?
I'm not sure which document you're seeing that has the lower amount or different amount, but the correct amount is the one that's on the landlord hardship form, 570604.
So the one that has the lower amount is from your application that was filed in January of this year. So you provided a typed up spreadsheet, you included it as an exhibit. What's that?
I believe the difference, so on you're talking about the itemized expense on page page 7 of that application. I believe in the first application, it does include the insurance. And that's denoted included in the mortgage, the property taxes section. So it may just be a discrepancy in what was included in the itemized breakout as opposed to what was included in the mortgage payment line.
I was thinking that too, but he's separating the insurance in this latest application, just like he did in the earlier one. So if you look at the itemized list for the February 28th application, the insurance is in a separate is on a separate row. And so are he does indicate, petitioner does indicate that the property taxes are folded into the mortgage. So I don't know, I can't account for that because I was like, okay, well, maybe, the property taxes weren't included in that 5,304 figure, but that doesn't make sense because the property taxes are over $1,000.
I'm looking at the original landlord hardship form that I sent, and it has the same exact amount, 570604.
Yeah, it's page 7 of that. It looked like an Excel spreadsheet that was typed out that just had monthly expenses. The first line of that was listed as 530493.
Yes.
So there is a discrepancy, but the actual application, page 1, line 1, is consistent across the two applications.
Yeah. So it's quite possible that that's a typo.
It must have been an error on my part. My apologies, but the correct amount is 570604.
Got you. Okay.
Any other questions? All right, then if there are no questions, I'd like to open the floor to the public. Is there anyone in the public who'd like to testify?
Yes, we have Elizabeth. Elizabeth, please state your name and address for the record, and I'm going to set the time clock for 5 minutes.
Can we make that 3 minutes, Megan?
Yeah, let me double check what is in the system, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm speaking, my mom and my grandma live.
Elizabeth, I need you to state your name and address.
Okay, my name is Elizabeth and I live in Pine Brook, but I'm talking for my mom and my grandma. They live there. They don't speak a lot of English, so it's better for me to.
That's fine. I just need your whole full name.
Okay, Elizabeth Diaz.
And Elizabeth, can you also state the tenants that you're speaking on behalf of, their full names and which apartment they reside in?
Okay, my grandma's name is Amelia Calderon, and she's in apartment 2 on the 1st floor, and my mom lives in the 2nd floor, apartment 3.
Thank you.
Okay, so my mom and my grandma have been living there 30 plus years. When Mr. Rosardo's bought the building, he already knew that they were living there amongst other tenants. So I think it's a little bit unfair for him to raise the rent 40 to 50% for tenants that are already living there. You know, aside from that, when they first came to introduce themselves to the tenants, to my mom and my grandma, they gave them, him and his partner gave them a letter saying that they had to evacuate their apartments in 60 days for them to do all that renovation that he's talking about. It wasn't signed by him, it was just a letter. He gave it to all the tenants. Mind you, it was in the middle of the pandemic and it was winter. So they were all very shocked. You know, my grandma's 84 years old and she was very upset about that. Another thing that I want to say is that when apartment one, left, they could have renovated that apartment, but they didn't. They just rented it to someone else. Another thing is that he's talking about expenses. The building, you know, every time my mom or my grandma or any of the tenants tell him what's going on with the building, you know, he's always like, well, you know what to do. You can leave. So every time, that's why the tenants don't want to tell him anymore anything. Like, for example, last year, the light bulb on the first floor where my grandma lives went out. My mom texted him and told him that, you know, the light bulb went out, please change it. He didn't come for like a month or two, a month and a half. Another thing, the doorknob and on the front entrance, the first door, it's without a doorknob. I don't know what happened to it. The mailbox from my mom also, it broke. She couldn't open it. She told him, and he said, well, you broke it. I'm going to fix it, but I'm going to charge you. My mom didn't even break it. So I don't know what his problem is. I don't know if he's just trying to tire them out so they can leave on their own. So he can renovate and raise the prices because he knows that they're paying their rent on time, all of them, I believe. So, you know, if my mom doesn't give it to him on the first, she gives it to him on the fourth, and that's only because she gets paid on the third. And they have a grace period of 5 days, like on his lease, it says. So, you know, I don't think it's fair for him to be raising what he wants to raise. And I know a lot of tenants in that street that are paying, you know, the same amount. They're living there for 30 plus years like us. And landlords, they said, you know, they can't raise their rent like 30%, 40%, 50% because it's not what West Orange is. It's only 2%.
Elizabeth, I need your full address in Pine Brook.
3300 Rachel Terrace.
In Pine Brook, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, is there any other member of the public who would like to speak? All right, Mr. Vistardos, do you have anyone here that can speak on your behalf that's here this evening?
Oh, you're muted.
No, I said just myself. No, nobody. I wasn't aware should have brought anybody to speak on my behalf.
No, it was just asking. It wasn't required at all. Wasn't
No
required
worries.
at all. Just wanted to find out if you brought anyone.
No.
Okay, do the members
sorry,
of the
Ms.
board?
Saunders, we have
Yeah.
another member of the public that has just raised their hands.
Okay, I'm sorry, I can't see it from my cell phone.
That's
Okay,
okay.
well then, please carry on.
He was late and that's fine. Carlos,
Okay.
please state your name and full address. Oh, all right. I'm gonna shut your camera off. That's fine. Okay. Carlos, if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Lizbeth Cartagena, and I live in 91 Ashland Avenue, apartment 5. I'm speaking here on behalf for apartment 4 and 6.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yes, so We wanted to touch a few points that we heard today on the presentation. So basically the landlord says, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not here about apartment one. We're just here about our rents and how like, we just feel it's very unfair for him to like raise the prices and like technically, you know, tell us to like leave when we know that right now, because of the pandemic, not everyone is having a stable job or no one even has $1,500 to be paying monthly. Anyways, so he talked about how in the first floor, he lowered the price of the rent because they clean. Yesterday that it snowed, there was no salt, there was no cleanup. And tenant number 4 also tells me that she is the one who takes out the trash, and she has found
Did we lose audio?
Or
We lost
just
you
me?
there.
I think we lost the audio.
and it's pretty disgusting. Also,
Carlo or Lisbeth,
yes,
your mic went out, so we did not hear part of your.
yes. So I just mentioned that people have been doing their needs in the back. We obviously assume it's people from the first floor. I don't know if it's because someone may be using their bathroom. I don't know what it may be, but all we know is that they've been doing it in the back. Also, tenant number 4 was also reminding us that there has been no renovation in the driveway, that was done by the old landlord, Joe. So, ¿qué más quiere usted que yo les diga?
De que nunca limpian el building.
Oh yeah, he also mentioned that there should be like cleanup like in the hallways, and there isn't any cleanups done by
Y
that.
yo sí estoy pagando el 3%, no el 2%.
And tenant number 4 is also telling me that she has been paying. ¿Cuánto está pagando?
Yo está pagando 8.92, no 8.83 dijo.
So she says that she has been paying $892, and when he showed the prices of every single tenant who has been paying, for tenant number 4, he showed $883. So she hasn't been aware that was like still the same price. You know what I mean? ¿Qué más quisiera decirle?
Del baño, que se hacen del baño.
Sí, ya mencioné eso.
Que nunca limpian el building y él dice que está pagando por el building. Que nevó ayer y no echaron ni una gotita.
Ya mencioné eso.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically we just kind of find it very unfair that all this is just happening, and
He never fixed nothing in the building.
yeah, true. Like Elizabeth had mentioned, like we don't want to go up to him and talk about it, because in the past he would just be like, oh yeah, you can fix it or just leave because I want to renovate the place anyways. So honestly, it's just really unfair. And being in this pandemic, not everyone has a stable job, like I mentioned. So it's just not, fair, really. Not everyone has that amount of money. And I'm sure the people in apartment 1 are paying that amount of price because, there's a lot of people living in that one apartment. So also, we all know the difference between West Orange, that there's many different prices, and people who are paying high prices is because they're living with other people, and people who are paying lower prices, it's a miracle they have a low price in their rent, and they're just probably sharing it off with other family members. So it's really just unfair in general.
Cuando se salió de abajo, hubiera empezado a arreglar.
Yeah, Elizabeth also mentioned that he never really fixed anything in apartment 1 when the old tenants left. There wasn't really much done. So honestly, we just find it very unfair that he's trying to like take us all out, put up the prices, because I don't think the prices on this block are even that high anyways. We live literally near Orange, so it's not like that.
Elizabeth, before we let you go, can you state the name of the 2 tenants that you were speaking for?
Yes, dígame su nombre completo.
Beatriz Lora.
Beatriz Lora, she's the tenant for number 6. ¿Y su nombre?
Marisol Díaz.
Marisol Díaz, she is the tenant for apartment number 4.
I'm sorry, for Beatrice, could you please spell that for us for the record, please?
I'm gonna spell it for you. It's Beatriz, last name Lora.
And is any other participant, I mean, the other tenant, could you please spell that name too, please?
Yes, it's Marisol Diaz. It's Marisol, last name Diaz.
Thank you.
Is that an apartment 4?
Yes, Marisol is apartment 4.
I'm not seeing that name on the list of tenants. I'm seeing Carlos.
That's her husband. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Any other members of the public? I
And
can't
Beatrice,
see.
Beatrice resides in what apartment? I'm sorry, I thought she was apartment 4.
6.
Apartment number
Six.
6.
Okay, thank you.
Deidre,
Yes.
our Kabira had a question in the chat. Our board members are allowed to ask questions and directed to the tenants, I mean, to the members of the public based on their
Well,
commentary.
I also
I-
had,
I
sorry,
would say so. No problem. I would say so.
I also had a question, Mr. Graziano, do these tenants need to be sworn in as witnesses or testimony, or they're just here for public comment?
The latter, Melinda, they're just here for public comment. If they do want to testify, they would have had to have filed a formal objection and participated in the hearing as a witness, as an objector. But they chose to just come and make public comments.
Were they made aware of that option?
I don't know.
Alex, to what they're saying, do they have to show proof? Like they mentioned that the first floor tenant hasn't been keeping up his end of the bargain and I guess maintaining the grounds and doing the cleanup. So is that something like proof that they should be providing to the board? Or is it hearsay?
Ms. Geber-Michael, it's their comment that they're making. If we want to know what the facts are on that, we have a witness sworn, Mr. Vistardos, who can hopefully tell us what that. And even though he may have concluded his portion, we do have the implied right to go back to him and say, look, you heard that public comment. What's the story with that, Mr. Vistardos, if we want to.
Thank you.
And I have a question as well. And thank you, Asmaret, for bringing up my question that was in the chat. Thank you. One of the reasons why I asked that question is, if I recall, the ordinance allows for the presentation of objections by the tenants. And so I'm just wondering how are we? I mean, I think that was a very valid question that Melinda asked. How are we characterizing what we just heard from the tenants? Are these on the record objections by respondents to petitioner's application? And if so, then do we make their objection as part of the record that we in turn review as the decision makers to this application? That's one. And then two, I do have some questions to the tenants that we just heard from with regards to what I'm going to call their testimony. So Mr. Graziano, I pose this question to you, like procedurally, am I as a board member allowed to treat this, what we're calling public comment, as a formal objection to the application? And am I allowed to question these objectors on the record and factor that into the application as a whole?
Well, to answer your question, Ms. Myers, the public commenters were not sworn in. So we, it's not testimony that is admissible in evidence, for lack of a better term, before this board, but it is information that you can take into account as a board member in reaching a decision. Mm-hmm. It's up to the discretion of the board as to whether you want to engage in discussion with members of the public. I can tell you as on the Verona Rent Control Board, whom I also represent, our policy there is you make your public comment and that's it. They're not. in Verona, we don't permit the members of the public to engage with the members of the board. They come and they make their comment and they get their time and then they're done. We don't get involved back and forth like we were going back and forth with
Well,
a sworn
believe
witness,
that's the way
Mr.
it should
Vistardo.
be.
Excuse me?
So I think that Deidre gave me permission to ask the tenants some questions. So in addition to that, I think that we agreed to relax the rules.
It's up to you. Right now, this is a whole new ball game, ladies and gentlemen. You want a rule? You discuss it. You vote on it. You proceed. But
So I
right
think that
now,
we
right
should-
now there is no such procedure because this is our first hearing.
So, Mr. Graziano, I think to your point, we need to vote on that. We need to, how should we conduct this, Mr. Smeraldo? With my phone, I can't see a show of hands. So how do we go about discerning?
I
Yes,
also have a question about, since we were, and this is our first, meeting or hearing, and we were lenient with Mr. Vistardos, would we consider being lenient with the tenants and allow them to time to properly file this objection, since we gave the extra time to the Mr. Vistardos, the applicant? Since we were all unaware of, it is in the ordinance and like we said, we're all, this is our first hearing. And we were lenient with the applicant, and I think it only fair to be lenient with the tenants as well and give them that opportunity now that they know that this is in the ordinance and they can officially properly object.
Mr. Graziano, how is it typically handled in Verona when the tenants formally object?
Sometimes the tenants, actually, the few times we've had tenant objections, they were represented by counsel, and they came and they were sworn as witnesses, and it looked more like a trial. The petitioner was the plaintiff, the objectors were the defendants, and there was back and forth, and we put a witness on, and the other guy gets a chance to cross-examine him once he's done with his testimony, and then the defendant puts a witness on and it testifies, and then the petitioner or plaintiff gets to cross-examine him. It looked more like a trial, but they were represented by counsel. And
how are the tenants made aware that they have this option?
I presume that their counsel advised them by looking at the ordinance and saying, okay, it was a tenants association. It was a group of tenants who got together on an affected property and petitioned who were objecting to an application that had been filed by a landlord.
Also, that information, according to this ordinance, needs to be presented in the lease. So that is a part of, that needs to be included in the lease. So that is also another way that they would have known that they were able to properly object or file an objection. But since that was not included in the lease, the ordinance was not provided to the tenants.
I have a question. Wasn't this mentioned in the last meeting last month that it was on our website, the ordinance on our website, the bylaws on our website, and it open to the general public to do their due diligence and research it? So with that being said, weren't the same people who spoke in the public comments at the last meeting? So wouldn't they known this? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Can I respond to that? So
Yes,
we could make the same statement or ask the same question about petitioner. He was also made aware of certain requirements under the ordinance, and we sort of agreed to relax the rules for him and give him at least 3 bites at the apple to get it right. So I think that the tenants who are going to be hugely impacted, if in fact there is an increase, should be given just as much deference. They're taxpayers just like a petitioner.
I think the board should vote on it. I think the board should vote on it, whether we're going to do a reset, or if we have enough information to just proceed and make a decision based on the information we have.
What would be the process if it was objected that we wouldn't let people who've spoken public comment speak. And that we went ahead and decided as a board, we deliberated and gave our ruling, right, to the applicant. Would the tenants then have the opportunity to file an objection? Because wouldn't the applicant still have to give notice of 30 days? So would that give the tenants the opportunity to then file an objection? I'm just trying to figure out. Does that make sense?
Mr. Graziano, does
Yeah,
that make sense?
procedurally.
Well,
Yeah.
procedurally, the application and the objection should all be part of the same process. It's not like we have this hearing and then later on somebody objects. If somebody wants to participate as an objector, then we should perhaps continue this hearing to the next meeting to allow objectors to file objections and be heard. And of course, Mr. Vistardos would have the opportunity to cross-examine those witnesses, and they, of course, would have the opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Vistardos because now they're officially objectors and they're parties to the proceeding. Otherwise, they're just members of the public commenting on things. Yes, they are the affected parties. I get that, but they don't have the status of a party to this action at this very moment. If you want to vote as a board to give them extra time to achieve that status, that's up to you. That's up to all of you.
Can we engage with those two parties to ask if they would like that option?
Yes, I think that's a great idea, Mr. Campagna, because if they don't care to do this, then the question is moot. If they do want to do this, then it's up to the board to decide to permit them to the additional time to do it.
Yeah,
Great idea, Anthony.
And just to clarify, we can accept the comments that they've already said, essentially, as their statement. We can include that in our deliberation of this matter. So the effect that would be if they choose to file a formal objection, the benefit would be we could then engage with them in additional Q&A, so to speak.
Yes, I mean, right now you can take the comments as just that. They're comments. You know how some of the affected parties feel about this situation. But if somebody hypothetically had the status of an objector, he or she could attempt to poke holes in Mr. Visardos's application and show that he didn't fulfill the requirements of this, or he forgot to do that, or something. Right now, we don't have the persons who commented tonight don't have that status yet.
Understood. Yeah.
So could we ask the public, the ones that just made the comments, if they would like to have that opportunity?
We can, if they're still here.
Yeah, are they
Yeah.
still on?
They both are
Yeah.
still in the attendee list. Yeah.
Excellent,
And
excellent.
we have Elizabeth that is raising her hand.
Okay, Elizabeth.
Do you want me to set the time clock or?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, Elizabeth, we have two Elizabeths. Could Elizabeth please identify herself?
Yes.
Full name.
Thank you, Peter.
Elizabeth, please state your name and address for the record. You need to unmute yourself. And then if you could just state your name and address again.
Oh, Elizabeth Diaz. Talking for my mom and my grandma, apartment 2 and 3. First floor and second floor.
Okay. Go ahead, make your statement.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to also say something else that when they also closed the basement to all the tenants. There was a washer and a dryer down there. Some of the tenants used to, wash their clothes. Not that that matters, but I just thought that, for them to close the basement, what if there's an emergency? I know that, he says that there's the front door and the back door, but, there's also the basement if something goes wrong. And also, we were the one that told him about the 2% rent increase. He wanted to increase it to 3%. And he made, a big deal about that. They pay for the hot water and the heat, and that's why we told him it was 2%. So,
Madam Chairman, and I'm sorry, Elizabeth, to interject here. Madam Chairman, I think
Yes.
what we intended to get the two public commenters back on the record to ask them whether they wanted to actually file formal objections and participate in the hearing as witnesses.
You are correct, Mr. Graziano.
So can we stick to that, please?
Yes, Elizabeth, we appreciate your comments, but we wanted to know if you were interested in filing a formal objection to Mr. Vistardo's claims versus just commenting.
what would
Your
that-
thoughts, Elizabeth, on behalf of the two tenants? Are you interested in formally objecting to Mr. Vistardo's?
what would that entitle, like what, if we do that, what would?
I'm
that-
sorry,
Well-
guys. I don't hear her. It sounds muffled. Do you guys
Yeah.
hear her?
Can you repeat that, Elizabeth?
Would, can I make a recommendation or a suggestion? Would translating our ask into Spanish make it easier for them to understand what we're asking?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
It's just that there's like kids here, that's why.
Okay, my
Um,
apologies.
You're going in and out, Elizabeth, but basically, according to our rent leveling board attorney, Mr. Graziano, you would have to seek formal representation and.
No, they can represent themselves. Yeah, they can represent
All right, so
I'm
clarify,
sorry if I
clarify,
wasn't
Mr.
clear,
President.
Ms. Saunders.
No, it's no problem.
They don't have to be formally represented by counsel. I was saying in the objection
Okay.
that we had, they
No
were
problem.
represented by counsel in Verona.
Okay,
But no, an objector can be pro se, that's fine.
okay. And can you articulate so that Elizabeth kind of understands how she would go about it versus making her comments about the basement, the door, and the.
Well, with the understanding, Elizabeth, that I'm not your attorney and I'm the attorney for the board, and we really, none of us can give you legal advice, okay? As an objector, you would have to file a written document with the rent leveling board administrator, Mr. Smeraldo, and you would set forth in writing what legal objections and or factual objections you had to Mr. Vistardos's application. And then at the hearing, if you chose to testify, actually at the hearing, you would have to testify because the written document wouldn't be evidence enough, but you would testify and you would outline your objections and you would have an opportunity to ask Mr. Vistardos questions, and Mr. Vistardos would have an opportunity to ask you questions. And
But
that's basically how it would go.
I have something to say, but wouldn't that something that will have to be done by the mother and the grandmother? And she simply serves as a translator.
Yes,
She doesn't live there. She doesn't live in the house. I mean,
Understood. I was speaking
Exactly.
of Elizabeth sort of as the representative of the two actual tenants. You're right, Mr. Rodriguez. It would be the tenants who would actually have to object.
Exactly.
And we do have the ability to have someone translate. Yes, the tenants would actually be there at the next hearing, and they'd be speaking, and somebody would have to act as an interpreter for them and be sworn, to give accurate translation testimony.
Anyone have any comments? Elizabeth?
Yes, do I have to give an answer right now? Sorry, you caught me off guard, that's why.
No, that's okay. We the reason for our asking is in the first portion of this hearing last month, we did allow the petitioner some leeway and leniency in terms of correcting the application. It was brought to the attention of you as a objector today that you do have this opportunity that wasn't clearly stated before. So we're trying to take a more formal view to allow you that time to make that objection. And if it's something that you'd be interested in, I think the board would then take a vote to potentially rule in that favor to essentially postpone this meeting yet again to allow you that time, you as well as the other potential objectors.
Oh, I see. I guess I would have talked to my mom and my grandma. I don't know.
Okay.
Can I make a statement to the board? So I'm looking at the ordinance and it it's pretty silent on how an objection should be made. So I'm just wondering if a written objection is even necessary, because I'm looking at section 15-2.5. And it's entitled approval of written to increase objection or semicolon objection. It says if objection to the proposed rental increase is properly filed, the board shall meet within 30 days of notification in order to conduct hearings on the proposed increase. So it doesn't indicate what a quote unquote properly filed objection is. And if I'm overlooking something, board members, please let me know. But what I gather from that is that it's left to our discretion as to how that objection can be asserted if the ordinance is silent on that.
Yes, but to your point earlier in this hearing, Ms. Myers, we didn't have an opportunity to look at Mr. Vistardos's full application, with the estimates for the construction. Wouldn't you want to know what the objection is and not be hearing it for the first time at the hearing?
Fair point.
Would we be able to ask the other tenant?
Yeah.
We can kind of move this along and so we can make a
Absolutely.
decision.
Is the other, was it also Elizabeth? Who?
Elizabeth Cartagena.
Yep, speaking on behalf of Carlos. So Elizabeth, are you there?
I took Elizabeth off. So
Yeah, so
she's an
this will be
attendee now.
Carlos. The name is Carlos in the attendee
Wait.
list.
I can put Carlos back in now.
Yep, please do.
Okay.
So Carlos is just the name listed, but this is Elizabeth, and I apologize on the pronunciation, Cartagena.
Elizabeth?
And
It was Lizbeth.
Oh,
Sorry.
Lizbeth. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Lizbeth,
Yes, Lizbeth.
are you there? Is Lizbeth there?
Yes, I'm here.
please
So
state your name and
we're-
address again for the record.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks,
My
Megan.
My name is Lizbeth Cartagena. I live in 91 Ashland Avenue, apartment 5.
Perfect. Thank you, Lizbeth. So we were just hoping to hear your view on your choice. Would you like it, if we were to provide it, to file a formal objection to this application?
Yes, here speaking with both of the tenants that are with me, they say that they would like to put a formal,
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Graziano, may I ask a question? So procedurally, is there anything we need to provide the tenants with in order to make a formal objection so that we sort of have a consistent way that each of them will formally object? Do you have any suggestions?
Perhaps a form, just, stating who is what's the tenant's name, what unit do they reside in, and then state the nature of your objection. I don't think we need to make it more complicated than that, because there's going to be testimony at the hearing as well. We're not just going to be relying on this form that the tenant objector may fill out.
Okay.
So would Peter be the one that handles that, as he's been the one that's made the forms for the applicants thus far?
Yes, I can work on that with Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Okay.
And then could the tenants be made aware of when that application or when that form is available or sent to them?
Yes, we're going to need, I guess, some more contact information, perhaps from Mr. Vistardos, or perhaps the tenants can tell us, can give information to Mr. Smeraldo so that they know where to go on the website to get the form and fill it out.
I would say with Town Hall open, we could also offer up, as nice as this is to say, an in-person, that they can come down to Pete's office and pick it up.
Certainly.
This is Pete Smeraldo. I don't have that form created yet. I will work on getting that form created. It will take a couple days just to make sure we have it. For the members of the public who are attending tonight, you can find my information on the Township West Orange website. West Orange, go to the West Orange board, select departments and click on rent leveling board. You'll find my phone information, my email there. If you send me an email, it'll probably be the easiest way. I could respond back with an email or send it to you through the regular mail, or you can stop by once I have it. That would be the three best options for you. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Pete.
Okay,
So do we now have to make a motion
Yeah,
to
so-
postpone this hearing?
So
And-
that's, I think that'd be best. We can, if we postpone, we allow the petitioner, or we allow the objectors to formally submit their objections, and we would reconvene at a similar point in the next hearing. So
sounds
is-
good. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Can
second.
you? Okay, well,
I'm sorry, that was board member Huerta made that motion?
yes,
Okay. And that's
Mr.
to,
Campagna seconding.
okay,
that's to postpone this or adjourn until the next meeting, correct?
Correct.
exactly.
Which is April
14th.
14th.
Okay, shall we make a motion to adjourn the meeting since for
Excuse
now?
me,
We need to
Chairman,
vote on that.
We need to vote
You
on
need,
the
you have a motion and you have a second. You're supposed to ask the board members if they would like to discuss that motion first prior to making the vote.
I apologize. Would the board members like to discuss the motions, the first and second motion that were just made? Is anyone there?
Seeing
No,
There's no
seeing
motion,
none, seeing none, would you like me to take the roll for the motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. Board member Huerta,
Yes.
board member Geber Michael,
Yes.
board member Myers,
Yes.
board member Rodriguez,
Yes.
vice chair Campagna,
Yes.
chair Deidre Sanders.
Yes,
Motion carries.
okay. So I think there are not any other matters this evening, right? We had one item this evening. I'd like to make a motion that we
Could-
adjourn this meeting. Did
Could I
I-
have one comment prior to adjournment? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted
Absolutely.
to state to Mr. Vistardos that we appreciate your understanding. It is not our intention to prolong this matter. We're simply affording the tenants of the building essentially the same leniency that we granted you on the first application. And certainly on behalf of the board, appreciate your understanding on that courtesy that we've extended tonight.
I understand. Thank you.
Awesome. That is wonderful. Now,
Madam Chair, just to remind you that was the public comments and everything for the applications. You actually have a public comment section that if members of the public would like to speak to you on other matters, just as a comment, this is the time they're afforded. So you need to check with the public
absolutely.
prior to adjourn.
Prior to adjourning, thank you so much, Peter. Does the public have any other matters they would like to comment on this evening?
We have
Okay.
Elizabeth that would like to speak. Is she allowed to comment on the 91 Ashland application, or is this something new?
It would have to be something new.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask if she still wants to raise her hands. She's still raising her hand. Please state your name and address again for the record.
Elizabeth Diaz. I just want to say that we will also do the same thing as the other tenants. That's all I want to say.
Okay, so then Elizabeth Diaz, you would like to be a formal objector as well?
Right, my mom and my grandma.
Yes, your mom, on behalf of your mom and your grandmother. Okay. All right, are there any other matters that the public would like to speak about? Remember,
Doesn't
I
she
can't
have to-
see.
My question is like, if somebody will be representing someone, that person will have to bring something like probably notarized or, from whoever they're representing in case that they don't speak the language or anything.
Is that required, Mr. Graziano?
But it's required in court that only certified translators are allowed to translate testimony in court. But we can, as we discussed at our workshop meetings, we can relax the rules. If someone is testifying on behalf of a family member, my suggestion would be, I don't think the board needs to be that formal to say, well, sorry, you got to go out and get certified as a court translator, and then you come back here, So I would suggest if somebody wants to testify on behalf of a family member, being properly sworn, of course, and it's slightly different, than the swearing a regular witness who's going to testify in his own language, because they have to testify that what they're about to translate will be true and accurate of what the witness is actually saying. But I don't think to Mr. Rodriguez's point, I don't think we need to be as formal as a court would be.
Is that something we need to vote on, or I respect your opinion, I'm fine with it, but is that something the board needs to vote on, Mr. Graziano, or is it?
I think so. Because it looks like both objectors may need that kind of translation assistance. So, why don't we vote on that now while we're all here?
All right, members of the
Hold
board.
on, hold on.
Vera has a
Can I-
question.
Yeah, I just need clarification, or maybe this is like an addendum to the topic. What about a certification by the daughter and / granddaughter that indicates that she will, that the testimony that she will be giving is a true representation of the parties that she is speaking on behalf of, something to that effect, in lieu of having to get some sort of notary and things of that sort,
We're
saying no.
We're saying not necessary to do that. We're saying just show up at the hearing with your mom, and we swear you, and we swear your mom, and you'll translate the oath into whatever language for mom, and then mom, we ask a question, mom talks, translator translates.
Well, does that require a vote? Because I believe before we didn't require a vote. We just take it upon ourselves to make that clear, or do we have to vote on it?
I don't think there'd be the slightest bit of harm in voting on such a thing. That way, everybody knows what it is. Nobody has a chance to say, wait a minute, what was that thing we talked about? Let's vote.
Got it.
Let's
Okay.
vote, people.
Agreed.
Vote.
Does the township have an interpreter, though? Does the township pay interpreters? Because if we have our own interpreters, then why can't we just use one of our paid interpreters?
I don't find that necessary.
We do not have paid interpreters.
I don't think the town has one. And sometimes I see a lot of people, like they
For
ask,
court,
can we
we
bring
don't-
someone and all that, especially in court and all that.
Right, for court, we do have court interpretation.
Yeah, but I think it's a part-time person that is not there all the time. And
Right,
it's not
could
a
we
really
request,
good idea.
would we be able to request the interpreter to, if,
What-
I don't know,
What
I
would
mean,
the
I-
need
But
be? There's
for
no
this
need.
matter-
We're saying we don't need it to be formal, that we.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For this matter, if she comes with the mother and the grandmother, that's all.
Yeah,
I
so
mean-
we can make a motion here to say that we'll accept next of kin family members under oath to serve as interpreters for all matters according to the board.
got it.
Or close friends.
Close friends,
Yeah.
acquaintances.
I do have a question though. Are we going to put this information on our website so that way when a petitioner goes on there, they know that they have these options available to them, like an FAQ section or?
On
Just how else would they
form,
know?
on the form, Ms. Geber-Michael, on the form, we can say, will your witness require translation services? Because that's what we ask for on court forms. So we can ask that, and if they check off yes, then we can have a dialogue with them about, okay, who's coming and how is that person related? I don't think we need to drill down that deep on the form. We just need to know, will the person be testifying in English, or do they need it translated into English from some other language?
Okay.
Okay.
If I can, I do think that it's something that we should definitely consider in the future, though, because if we have interpreters in municipal court, and this is a quasi judicial hearing that we're presiding over, I think that we need to seriously consider having interpreters here, because I think that Mr. Rodolfo has a legitimate question. I mean, it goes to the veracity of the person who's speaking on behalf of the of the witness, of the respondent. And you want to make sure that they're saying everything that the respondent wants to impart to us. So, granted, I don't think that we need it in this particular instance, but in future, I seriously think that we need to consider that in future. Thanks.
Okay, but for the present, what we're going to do is we're going to make a vote, and I'd love it if a member of the board, we would conduct a vote and determine how many people are fine with us not utilizing an official interpreter, and how many of us are comfortable accepting a family member or a close friend to speak on behalf of the objectors.
Yeah,
So
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, make a motion that the board allow close friends, family members, and acquaintances under oath to serve as interpreters of objectors or petitioners across all matters for future board consideration.
would
I
anyone like to
second that.
second that?
I second that.
Excellent. All right, now.
Madam Chair, just to clarify, Madam Chair, so we're going to permit respondents to provide its own interpreter for future proceedings. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what you were stating, Mr. Campagna?
Correct. Yes.
For all future proceedings. Okay.
So is there any discussion on that, or can we go to a vote?
Yeah, I have a question. So wait a minute, we're saying that we're gonna waive the requirement of filing a certification, of a interpreter filing a certification for all future proceedings? Is that what we're agreeing to right now? Or just for this one? Because I thought that
No,
this
for
was-
all future.
For all
Oh.
future.
I'm not in favor of that.
Okay, then you
I
can
mean,
vote
they
against
can
it.
vote
You
for this
can, you
one,
can vote
but-
against it. That's fine.
Is anyone else, should we have a vote right now? Mr. Smeraldo, can you?
Madam Chair, that's up to you. It's you did the motion and then you second it, and there's discussion. If there's no more discussion, I will conduct a roll for you.
Yes, I would appreciate that, Mr. Smeraldo.
Okay, for the motion to permit respondents to provide their own interpreters for all future proceedings. Board Member Huerta,
No.
Board Member Geber Michael,
Can I say something, or do I have to vote? I'm sorry, I'm just confused.
I'm confused too, guys.
Because what if someone
vote because
speaks,
the
let me give you an
discussion-
example. What if someone speaks,
Session is over, right? You have to vote.
but what if someone speaks a language that we don't know or understand? How do we know that the information is relayed?
Because then we're trusting that they're under oath.
Okay, then I
Mhm.
guess, yes, then.
So I'm confused though. So are we voting on just this particular application or all applications before the board? We're saying the requirement of an interpreter signing a certification, whatever, is being waived? Or is it?
For
are we-
all of them.
Oh,
All of them for the
all
all
future.
applications, got you.
In
Yeah,
general.
that's what I thought.
Okay, then yes.
Ms. Myers,
No,
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Chairman Sanders, Chairperson Sanders.
Yes, yes.
Okay, the motion carries 4-2.
All right. Now, if that,
And I
Covers-
apologize for interrupting, guys.
It's okay.
during that.
No,
I'm
not
sorry.
a
And Anthony,
problem.
thank you for explaining it to me. I just,
it's not a problem.
No, there's no further.
We do have one more member of the public with their hand up.
Okay,
Carlos's computer that I think is Lisbeth.
okay, Lisbeth, you have the floor.
Please state your name and address again for the record. And turn off your camera.
Yes. So sorry, I wasn't really understanding the big words too much. So are you guys saying that I am able to speak on behalf of the two tenants?
Yes, you are.
Or, yes, okay. Now, second question, since I'm gonna be the one speaking, should they be also filling out forms or just one form?
If they represent two separate apartments, it'd be two separate objections.
Okay, but I'd be the one speaking for them.
Yeah, you can, so you can represent both of them.
Okay.
It'll be two separate objections and you'd represent both of them individually on the two separate objections.
Okay, I see how it is.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lisbeth.
Megan, you see anyone else from the public that's would like to
yeah.
speak out?
I'm not seeing anyone. Let me double check. Any other members of the public that wish to have a comment or a question? I'm not seeing any.
Excellent.
You can formally close public comment.
I would like to formally close public comment. And now I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Mr. Smeraldo?
Don't think you need a vote on this. You could say, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, all.